I refuse to imagine the Patriots reaching January with a championship-caliber defense and a pass rush held together by hope. Harold Landry opens camp on PUP. Jesus carries uncertainty of his own, and one setback could hand massive responsibilities to developing players. That is why Jadeveon Clowney is on my radar. Not as a savior or the star of the project, but as a physical veteran who could protect this rotation and give Mike Vrabel real defensive options. Today, we are breaking down that opportunity and the battles shaping the rest of this roster. If you want New England ready for the weight of this season, hit like and stay with me. Jeremiah Franklin is not walking into Foxborough as a stranger asking for permission. He has already knocked on this door, earned a look, and refused to fade from the radar. The former Boston College tight end attended the Patriots' local pro day, returned as a tryout player at rookie minicamp, and earned a New England contract after another workout Thursday, according to CBS Sports' Matt Zenitz. For an undrafted player in 2026, that return matters. Franklin started all 12 games during his final ACC season and caught 49 passes for 506 yards and 2 touchdowns. Across his Eagles career, he played 44 games, started 30, and finished with 93 receptions, 1,010 yards, and 6 touchdowns. At 6'3" and 244 pounds, he brings real game experience and a genuine connection to football in this region. None of that guarantees him a roster spot. It gives him a real chance to compete. That opportunity opened because the tight end room lost stability fast. Julian Hill landed on injured reserve and will not return this season. CJ Dupree opened training camp on the PUP list. Hunter Henry remains the captain and established leader, but the group behind him includes rookies Eli Raridon and Tanner Arkin, along with Jack Westover and Mitch Van Voren. Franklin steps directly into a position where depth has become a serious concern. There is an immediate consequence too. The roster sits above the 91-player limit, so another move has to create room. That is the ruthless side of camp. For one local player to keep chasing his dream, somebody else will see his own path cut short. I like this signing because nobody is trying to sell it as a miracle. New England has watched Franklin up close, evaluated him at more than one stage, and called him back when the need became real. During the first practice, scheduled for Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern, his hometown connection will not protect him, and a great story will not block anybody. Still, there is something powerful about a Chestnut Hill product getting another opportunity just a few miles from where he built his name. Now Franklin has to turn familiarity into trust, then turn that trust into a roster spot. The danger is not at the top of the rotation. Harold Landry still matters. Draymond Jones brings versatility. Young rushers deserve time to develop. The danger appears after an injury, a drop in performance, or a quick turnaround from Sunday to Thursday. With Landry opening camp on PUP and Jesus surrounded by uncertainty, New England cannot force a prospect to carry a veteran's responsibility before he is ready. Jadeveon Clowney enters this conversation as a market possibility, not a deal already taking shape. He remains available after spending last season with the Dallas Cowboys. No team should expect him to become the center of its defense now. The Patriots would not need that. They need power, experience, and reliable snaps, so their pressure does not depend on perfection. The fit with Mike Vrabel is easy to see. Clowney can play off the edge, attack tackles with power, and move across the front when the matchup demands another look. His value would not be limited to passing downs. His size and strength can set the edge against the run, while his presence gives quarterbacks another source of discomfort. That physical style fits a defense that wants to dictate contact. Picture the rotation. Landry would not have to carry the entire burden of winning off the edge. Jones would have more freedom to change alignments. Clowney could enter through defined packages, keeping the veterans fresher late in games. J-Cass, Elijah Ponder, and Braden Swinson could develop without being exposed as mandatory answers. One player would not save the defense. He would protect several pieces around him. There is another strategic advantage. Clowney is a free agent. New England would not have to surrender a draft pick, weaken another position, or make a long-term commitment. A short, incentive-based contract would protect the young player's development while giving the veteran a clear role with a contender. If the staff loves what it sees early in camp, great. If the depth starts showing cracks, that phone should be within reach. I understand anyone who sees his age and would rather wait. I also know how that story can end. The market dries up, an injury hits, and the price of urgency rises. The Patriots do not need panic. They need to recognize that a championship run demands protection against the unexpected. Clowney would not come to Foxborough to play the hero. He would come so no young player has to become one too early. If he accepts a rotational role and a reasonable contract, I am making that call. Championships can also be lost when a roster mistakes promise for proven depth. One piece of Drake Maye's time in New England still walks onto the field every Sunday, even though almost nobody talks about it. It was not glamorous or built to sell jerseys. It was Ben Brown, the Patriots' top interior offensive line backup, who arrived in 2024 and stayed by doing the least celebrated work on offense. He survived by becoming useful wherever the line needed him. New England signed Brown off the Raiders' practice squad that season. Since then, he has added 31 games and his first 14 career starts. He will be 28 when the season opens, and at 6'5" and 313 pounds, he offers something valuable when injuries hit. He can play guard and center. That flexibility keeps one absence from forcing changes at multiple positions. That versatility goes back years. Brown started all 40 games he played at Ole Miss, 30 at right guard and 10 at center. He still went undrafted in 2022. He signed with Cincinnati, spent his rookie season on injured reserve with a biceps issue, and moved through the Seattle and Arizona practice squads, appearing once for the Seahawks. Las Vegas became another stop before New England found value where others saw a player passing through. It is hard not to feel something for a career like that. The NFL celebrates talent arriving under bright lights. Brown built his place by starting over. This is not just emotional toughness. He moves smoothly for his size, mirrors in pass protection, climbs to the second level, and blocks on the move. His awareness finds targets while the defense shifts around him, and his active hands can neutralize speed rushers and interior twists before they disrupt the pocket. But belief requires honesty. Brown is not an explosive blocker. His timing can slip on screens and zone concepts. He can be slow leaving double teams and struggle when power defenders attack his base. His anchor, leg drive, and grip strength leave room for concern, especially when the matchup becomes a straight power contest. Against a dominant interior defender, effort alone will not solve it. That is why I would never sell him as an unquestioned future starter. I would defend him for what strong rosters need, and weak teams almost never have. A backup who understands multiple positions, has already started 14 games, and does not wreck the communication when his number is called. Drake Maye cannot spend an entire season depending on all 5 starters to stay healthy. Nobody survives the AFC that way. There is something beautifully ironic about it. Mayo's run as head coach lasted 1 season, and will be remembered mainly for Drake Maye. Still, a quiet acquisition from that year continues to protect the franchise's biggest investment. Brown represents a decision that aged better than the circumstances around it. Camp will now show whether he remains dependable insurance or pushes for something more. Sometimes the legacy that lasts never gives a speech. It puts on a helmet and keeps Maye's pocket intact. For Quintavious Hutchins, hearing his name called in the draft came with a reality offering no rest. Among New England's 9 2026 picks, he may face the narrowest path to the 53-man roster. That is not a final verdict. It is the mountain facing a 7th-round edge defender surrounded by competition and questions. Other Day 3 picks see clearer openings. Karan Prunty enters a secondary with jobs available. Demetrius Crownover's size could earn him an offensive line depth role. Nnamdi Obiazor joins a linebacker group praised by Elliott Wolf. Baron Morton has the emergency quarterback role working in his favor, while Jam Miller's athleticism creates curiosity in an unsettled running back room behind the top names. Hutchins does not have that space. Harold Landry and Draymond Jones lead the group. Elijah Ponder appears to be the top backup. Jesus was projected for a meaningful role after New England drafted him in round 2, but he remains unsigned. Mike Reese reported that the Patriots found more injuries in Jaka's history than expected, creating the possibility he could miss part or all of the season. Even then, Braden Swinson and Jesse Luketa remain in Hutchins' way. Swinson gained ground this spring after a quiet year spent almost entirely on the practice squad. Luketa was on the Rams practice squad in 2025. 1 year earlier, he recorded 21 tackles and 3 sacks for Arizona while contributing on special teams. If this picture holds, Hutchins begins camp around 6th in the edge rotation. His college resume does not erase the concern. Hutchins produced 5.5 sacks in 4 Boston College seasons, despite playing 95.6% of his snaps on the defensive line. His 2025 missed tackle rate was a strong 7.7%, but he weighed 233 pounds at the combine, earned a 53 out of 99 athleticism score from Next Gen Stats, and posted a 5.15 relative athletic score. NFL tackles will test his size and explosiveness without mercy. Special teams looks like the natural route, but that door is crowded. Hutchins averaged 110 special team snaps across 4 college seasons. New England lost more than 1,000 with Jack Gibbons, Jelani Tavai, and Marte Mapu leaving, so work is available. The problem is the line. KJ Britt, Chad Muma, Obiazor, Swinson, Lucetta, Kobe Minor, and Marcellus Dial all have arguments of their own. An off-field matter also requires responsible handling. Hutchins has an August 28th court date stemming from a misdemeanor assault and battery charge involving a family or household member. That adds uncertainty at camp's most decisive point without giving anyone the right to presume guilt. I am not giving up on a rookie before the pads come on. 7th-round picks exist because development can reveal something the numbers missed. Defending Hutchins, though, does not mean hiding the competition. He must find a role the staff cannot discard, hold up against the run, finish tackles, and turn every special team snap into a defense of his roster spot. New England fans, give me your green light in the comments. Would you bet on him as a situational edge, a special teams player, or a practice squad project? His answer begins once the contact stops being theoretical. These 4 stories remind us why a roster is never built only through its biggest names. Franklin is trying to turn local roots into a permanent home. Clowney represents a chance to protect the rotation before need becomes desperation. Brown proves a quiet decision can keep protecting the future. Hutchins faces the hardest part of the dream, convincing the team there is still a role for him. My feeling is simple. The Patriots should reward usefulness, hunger, and earned trust, never empty reputation. If you controlled this roster today, which move would you make first? Tell me in the comments, hit like, and keep living through this camp with us.